Welcome to Quiltripping Travel with Rose, a big blend radio podcast featuring award-winning travel writer and photographer Rose Palmer. So welcome, everyone. So excited because this is the 1-year anniversary of Quiltripping Travel with Rose, and I can finally say quiltripping. Right, Rose? Did I do good?
You did great. Hi.
Hey, it is good to have you back on the show and then to talk about another amazing adventure that she always makes me jealous on. And then, we're going to have to plan to go on these amazing cruises that Rose gets to go on. She celebrated, her and her husband, their 40th anniversary on a luxury English barge cruise. And we know that means she got to go to London, right? Is that true? Because I know that's one of your favorite things.
Of course. We started in London, had a few days before the cruise to get over jet lag and did some sightseeing, and then finished in London with a couple more days of sightseeing. And in between, we had this wonderful barge cruise that European Waterways set us up with on the barge called Magna Carta that went from, we started in Oxford and ended at Hampton Court, but obviously on the River Thames, but it can go the other direction as well. So, and it's the barge appropriately is called Magna Carta because the Thames goes past the site of Runnymede, where King John was forced to sign the Magna Carta, which as you know is kind of the prelude to democracy in our Constitution. But that was back in the 1200s. So it was a very as European Waterways barge cruises always are, it's very, very luxurious, great service, excellent food. Oh my God, wonderful food. And then a lot of history because it's the River Thames. It's, we're not that far from London, and there's just all ton of historic things to see and do every day. So it was a great combination of relaxing, slow cruising, and then, doing some sightseeing. So, yeah, it was.
I feel like this is also another anniversary, is that the first time you came on Big Blend Radio, it was about a cruise with European Waterways.
Right.
France. And you got a front cover story with us in one of our Big Blend magazines, I believe. Yes, I was just going through some of our archiving, and I'm like, look at Rose. And then I think, Rose does well on covers with our digital magazines because she's an excellent photographer. That puffin, the puffin, remember the puffin?
Yes,
oh my God, I'll talk about puffins for years. Puffins and the penguins.
Oh, well, they're so cute. Yes,
they are. But this barge cruise, I wanted to touch base on this because European Waterways is like they excel at what they do. From
they do.
You've said and other writers, I just we need to get and do this. But going on a barge cruise, I know your husband is not good at doing other cruises, but this is the type he likes, right? This is a good cruise for him.
It is. So he's very susceptible to motion sickness. So he never goes on the big ocean cruises with me because there's a lot of rocking back and forth, which I love. It puts me to sleep. But he can't handle that. Even with the patches and all of that, he still gets kind of queasy. But river cruises and then these barge cruises we're on canals, or in this case it was the Thames River, and this part of the Thames is not very big. It's not the Thames like in London where it's a lot wider because it's at the mouth of the river. This is further upstream, so it's not that wide, and the flow's controlled, so you don't feel a thing. So he's great on it, and he's quite tall, but he just fit into the cabin. So he's 6'7", and I think the ceiling on the cabin was about 6'8", so he was just fine. And he loves these barge cruises. He's more than happy to go on them with me. And it was, as a 40th anniversary celebration, it was perfect because it was true luxury. And this was my fourth one, as you mentioned, with European Waterways. Done 2 others in France, which is what we had talked about before. And then we went on a cruise with them in Italy in a few years ago, which was actually in the Venetian Canal.
Oh my gosh,
the Venetian Lagoon, rather.
Well, we need to do a show on that. I want to hear about that.
All right. I thought we did, but maybe not. So yeah, that was all in the Venetian Lagoon and then on the Po River. And he was fine on that one because again, it wasn't rocky at all. And then this one on the Thames River. And yes, you're right. European Waterways is, I don't want to say they own the industry in Europe, but they pretty much do. They've got 18 boats now that throughout Europe, many of them, about a dozen or so in France, and then a couple in Scotland, one in Ireland, this one in the UK, the one in Italy. And then in the spring that they move some into the Holland for the like the tulips and things like
Oh,
that. They move,
Rose.
yeah.
I
Oh,
think you may. Well, what's great about these barges, right? These are old historic boats, right?
they are.
And so
They
they're
are.
preserving a piece of history.
Yes.
And I have a hatred of tearing down historic buildings or imploding them like they've used to. I don't know if they're still doing it in Vegas. I don't want to know. But I love to preserve history in some way, even if you have to you like totally revamp and then reuse some of the pieces. Like if you have to take this wall down and there's
Hmm.
this kind of wood or whatever, reuse it inside the building in some way. So we're not adding to landfills, but we're also keeping the history of whoever built something there. And there's a spirit, I believe, there's a spirit of, there's like energy
Hmm.
from the past that is part of these historic vessels, whether it's a building or a ship or, to me, even historic cars, it's like we've
Oh,
become
yeah.
such a
Yeah.
throwaway society. When a company takes something like a barge and invests in its history, redoes it, and people get to stay in it, it means like it's not just tucked away in the bottom shelf of a museum kind of thing.
Right.
This is
Exactly.
something where it's actually living, it's living history. And
It
I
is.
feel like, ships are ladies. We want to show off.
And they do a fantastic job refurbishing, taking these historic old boats that once were used for hauling goods, because that's what the canals and the rivers were used for, because this was before cars, before highways, before airplanes, before trains. And the waterways, France is just covered in canals. England, when I was on this cruise, the captain told me England has over 3,000 miles of canals and rivers, waterways, which were used for hauling goods. So you have all these historic boats. And now, so it's not just the boats, but also the canals have been refurbished and restored and are a major source in France and here in England in particular of recreation. Narrowboat people, the Brits love to either own or rent a narrowboat and do a narrowboat trip holiday on these narrow canals. So you can do that on your own, which we didn't really want to do. We wanted to have somebody else drive the boat. And so the Magna Carta was perfect for that because it's bigger, it was about twice the width of a narrowboat and obviously longer. It had been a barge in Holland and the Netherlands and built in the 30s. And the owner, Dominic, he purchased it and refurbished it. So it's totally modern. It's beautifully fitted out, very classy and classic decor, in maritime navy colors and a nice warm wood. You got a bathroom, you got your own bathroom. We had underfloor heating and a towel rack and, in the bathroom. So it's not like we were roughing it at all. The cabin was fine for two people. I mean, we only slept there and showered. So, was
But there was
very
only
little.
there's only 4 cabins on this. So
There's
this is
only four
intimate.
cabins. Yes,
Oh my
there's only
gosh.
four cabins. So the maximum is 8 people. In this case, it was us and another couple. So I've always been fortunate that,
Wow.
European Waterways, when I've worked with them, they've always put me on a boat with, and there's, only been a few of us on the boat, but even at 8 people, when you think about it, on a boat, and there were 6 crew total for
Wow.
the trip.
Are
So,
you kidding? So there's more crew than there are guests, which means attention
um,
to detail.
exactly, exactly. So we had the owner Dominic, who was on the boat every day. He was driving it. His wife Katie was there a couple of days, kind of overseeing things. And then we had the captain of the boat who was on there 24/7, just kind of helping out and doing everything else. And then we had 2 hostesses and Chef Thomas. Oh my God,
Oh.
Chef Thomas. We fell in love with Chef Thomas because his cooking was amazing. I mean, the food on all the European Waterways cruises have been fantastic, but this was over the top. I mean, the flavor combinations that he put together. So, for example, just as a little salad starter, we had heirloom tomatoes with a little bit of fancy lettuce, and then a Bloody Mary sorbet as the dressing.
I mean, I was looking at that, and listen, I was looking at some of the cocktails too. The lemon panna cotta. Oh, that's not a cocktail, but
Well, the
in a cocktail
desserts.
dress.
Yes.
The desserts,
Yes.
that, well,
Oh,
to me, a cocktail's that too. You had a Magna Carta gin, but the photos you have, I mean, I'm going to have
mm-hmm.
to make a video of this at some point, but the photos, y'all, I'm just saying, there's an article that, Rose has got an article. It's linked in the episode notes, so check it out. What is so, I'm looking at the meringue pie. Are you kidding me? Like that lemon meringue pie.
I
Like,
know.
how did
It
they
was,
even
and
do
it wasn't
that?
even, it was like lemon curd in the middle. So he just like had a crumble of crust of crushed up cookies and then lemon curd on top of that. And then just these, beautifully piped
No,
meringue
this is
on top.
just
It just,
attention to
oh,
detail. The
oh my
beef
God. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Beef Wellington looked good. Even
The
the
beef
breakfast, but
Wellington.
you had
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
proper English breakfast, and the mushrooms, like they don't mess around on the mushrooms. Like you got a proper English
Yeah, well,
breakfast.
that was actually my husband's because I can't eat that stuff in the morning. But my
Oh, I
husband wanted
can
to do
with your
it.
husband, but I do want a Bloody Mary or champagne. Like you got welcomed aboard with champagne. I'm
Yes,
like,
they are. That's their
yes.
trademark. They always
And
do
they knew
that.
it was your anniversary. Your bedroom is all
Yes,
decorated with rose
yes,
petals and,
yes,
come on, the swans, which cracks me up because you have a photo of, the barge, the lady, the Lady Magna Carta with
yes.
all these swans around her. I mean,
Oh, there
I
were.
don't think I've seen
Yeah,
that many swans like that.
they were all
That's
over the river. They were, and for the first time, I saw black swans. I think I shared a black swan
oh
photos
yeah.
with you. So, in one of the places that we were docked at, there were, the normal huge whatever a group of swans are called, which I can't remember right now, but. And then in the middle of them, there was a couple black ones. And so I just couldn't resist. I had to try and take a whole bunch of photos of them. And they
I
were
love,
actually hard to photograph.
they are, I remember Nancy rescued one.
Oh,
Anyway, from
really?
Martin Muir. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's a whole other show, but she did, and then she made a friend actually go in the water. She's like, "Oh, you think you're a man? Get in there and save that." He had, the swan had put its neck under a thing in the water and got himself stuck. And
Oh,
then she's like, all right, you go in there and save that. Go do it. You need to do that. That's your duty. And he did. And then, let's just say swans bite. Okay.
yes,
If
yes,
you
yes,
rescue them, you
yes.
could get hurt. But I love the photos you have of actually going through the canals and like seeing that, how that all, are they canal? Not the
So
lock
there,
thing.
it's locks, right? So
Thank
the
you.
Thames, I mean, the Thames, like any river, it has rocky sections. So they've tamed it, and so on one side they've put in weirs to control the drop of the water from one level to another, and obviously the boats can't go over those weirs. So then they've put in locks next to, kind of on the other side of the weirs that all the boats can go through. So we would go through locks occasionally. Each day we did go through a few, and that's true for the canals in France as well. They control the drop of the water with all these canals. So the boats spend a lot of time going in and out of the locks, but that's fun. That's part of the fun. It's just, going in,
Yeah.
and it's amazing how quickly actually on here on the Thames locks, how quickly the lock filled or drained, because they were pretty big locks and they were fairly deep, but they filled very quickly. And they have lock keepers and, lock keepers' houses. And it seemed like there was a competition between lock keepers to have, like, who could have the prettiest garden, because I
Oh,
swear every single one, they're all these plants and bushes and roses and dahlias and kind of each one sort of had its own little characteristic garden area with different types of flowers. It was really, really pretty. And then the log keeper would come out and chat with the captain, and it was really convivial to use it. Rick Steves liked to use that a lot. It was convivial.
convivial.
Yeah.
That's better than the word bucolic. That word should be deleted. It's two words that should be deleted. Bucolic, because it sounds not good. And the other one is protagonist when it comes to authors. That sounds like you're going to go see the
Oh.
doctor for something we don't want. So those two words seem too medical. I know you've got a background in chemistry and you're a scientist. You may like those words, but I don't.
Well,
They
yeah, I don't
sound
think of those.
too
Yeah.
invasive at the doctors for me. I'm just saying. So, but convivial sounds like we're going to have, it's alive, it's
Yes.
vibrant and
Yes. And
fun.
it was. It was a very convivial cruise. The other couple was really sweet. They were from America, another American couple, and this was their second European Waterways cruise. They had done one in France before. And then the crew was just a lot of fun. Once they realized that we liked to joke around, they loosened up and they were teasing each other, and we were teasing them and they were teasing us. So
Cool.
truly,
That's
it
awesome.
truly was a really convivial atmosphere, and that really added to it.
Okay, I'm changing the title of the article right now. Convivial times on the Magna Carta. But I like this. I like this. Well, but I was, going through the photos, you're going to see there's a lot of wine in this convivial adventure. There's a lot going on in food, wine, sights. And, we all know England and the weather in England. So you had some very dark skies with some amazing rainbows that are,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
there's one photo. I mean, you got a few there, but one where, I mean, that photo with the complete rainbow over the Magna Carta. See, I know that she's a happy, happy ship. She knows that you cared about her beauty. I mean, you got a rainbow over her. I mean, come on now. That is
That was
exceptional.
lucky. Yeah,
Yeah, but
that was
you see, but
yeah.
luck comes from being out there all the time.
Yes,
Your number came up, and
I
it was your
bet.
40th anniversary.
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
knew,
Well,
everybody
unfortunately,
talked,
so
you know.
crew actually apologized because they said, this is the first rain we've had in weeks. It's been sunny blue skies for the last month. And, here on our cruise, we actually had a little bit of rain, actually.
But what's so wild about it is
But then the
above
sun
the
came out.
rainbow is
Yeah.
dark.
Yes.
Above the
Yeah.
rainbow is it's like the rainbow is holding the rain up and saying, no, we're going to light up the Magna Carta and the trees and the water below. It's really an interesting study on light. And as photographers, you got to love that, right?
Well, you need the rain, so you need clouds to get a rainbow, but then you need sun on the opposite side of the clouds to shine on the clouds, right? As it's raining to generate the rainbow. So, and it's usually late, the sun has to be low in the sky to do that. So, these
Hmm.
were late afternoon photos. But yeah, it happened twice. It happened that when we were docked in Purley was the one rainbow, and then the other time we were in Windsor, and we had just come back from touring Windsor Castle and, walking with our umbrellas for most of the time as we were walking around the castle area. And then the rain stopped, and lo and behold, by the time we got to the boat, skies were clearing and there was this gorgeous rainbow again, and a lot of swans. There were a ton of swans there around Windsor Castle. And I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think I read that the king actually owns all the swans
That's
in
how,
England.
no, I do know that that's true because
Is
of
it?
Glenn
Okay.
Burrows. Glenn Burrows,
Okay.
who's on our shows from Norfolk,
Okay.
we did this whole thing on birding in England, which is an amazing. If you love bird watching, England really is good, especially for water birds. And he talked about the swan thing started because swans, I believe, also come from Australia, or maybe they ended up in Australia because of the royal connection. But like the black swans, I think come from Western Australia. I could be wrong, so I should just zip my mouth. Give me that champagne on that Magna Carta, please. Doesn't mean mouth will be zipped up for much longer. But yeah, but that's an interesting. They are the royalty birds. They are that was the whole point. They brought them there, and it's their birds. Like that is, yeah, that's.
And
I
we
thought
had them everywhere. I mean, everywhere that we were
they knew it was your 40th
cruising.
anniversary. It was just for you.
I don't think so. I think they're just there all the time, but I've never seen so many swans in
No.
my life, and they truly are beautiful birds. Oh,
You had fall colors. I'm looking at that too.
yeah, a little bit maybe, and I don't know, it's because they did not have rain and they had maybe a little bit of drought conditions, but some of the trees were definitely starting to change color, which was a bit of a surprise because the temperatures were not cold. It was, it was in the
Yeah, they had a heat
70s.
wave.
Um, But,
Summer.
it definitely added a little bit to, a nice look to the scenery to have a little bit of color in the trees. Yeah, it was a truly lovely, lovely, lovely cruise. And the other thing that I don't think I really touched upon on my article with you, but as I was kind of starting to write another article, it struck me that a lot of the sites that we visited were featured in many of the British TV shows that I've watched. So one, Dorney Court was used in a lot of films, and that's kind of one of their claims to fame because it is such an old manor house. It's like over 400 years old and still looks very much original. And it still lived in the family that, that owns it still live there. But because it is so original and so historic, it's been used in many, many, many films. But then, Hampton Court has been, that has been used in things I've watched on British television. And then, Marlowe, I'm just watching a series on PBS, or on Prime rather, called Marlowe Murder Club.
That's supposed
And
to be really good.
it is. We're really enjoying it. And it's filmed in Marlowe, and we passed through Marlowe.
Oh man.
Midsummer Murders, filmed, another one which we really enjoyed and, filmed in the area. And then of course Oxford, all the like
Good.
Inspector Morse and Lewis and Endeavour, if you're a fan of those shows,
Well, I
filmed
want
in
to say
Oxford. So
going through
yeah.
the locks remind me
Mhm.
of Hyacinth Bouquet. And
Oh, okay.
from Keeping Up Appearances, because
Yeah,
she
I
got on
don't
a
think I've
boat.
watched that. Okay.
Oh my gosh, Patricia Rutledge, and she passed away the day we're recording this. Sadly,
Oh,
is the day. Well, she was 96 and
okay.
an incredible vocalist, very operatic.
Really?
Oh
Okay.
no, Patricia and Keeping Up Appearance. Rose, you would love this.
I'll
Oh
have
my
to,
gosh.
yeah, I'll have to look for it.
It's a TV show and it's kind of I can't even, because English comedy, like
It's very
it is,
dry.
I
Yes.
love it. And it took me a while to get into American comedy when we moved here. It took
Mm-hmm.
me, I didn't understand Seinfeld and then suddenly I got it. It was actually, Seinfeld was more
Mm,
connected to that more than,
I guess I never
and
got Seinfeld.
it took me a while because I'm more on the
Okay.
British side. Growing up in Africa and then England, was the British humor and character actors. To me, there's nothing like it.
Yes.
And they love to use their scenery, but there's this episode where it's Hyacinth Bouquet. You can't say
Yeah.
and her name is
I
spelled bucket, and it's
Right.
Bouquet. And they
Okay.
went down the canals or the river, and they took a little boat. And of course, they messed up the locks. They got into trouble. And of course, she went overboard. And she's blaming her husband, and she's like, Richard, and this was just a big deal. And then, the lower class family as portrayed, that's how they portray it. In the sitcom is there, and they have to save it. And he's smoking with his white wife beater vest on kind of thing. It's hysterical. And
Okay.
so I just, as soon as I saw your photos, now she would love to be on European Waterways. That is her style, or she wants to be on the Kiwi too.
Okay.
So yeah, that was either one.
Yeah.
And the European Waterways, this is her style, only the best for Hyacinth Bouquet
Well,
buckets.
nobody fell
So
overboard on ours.
no,
Uh,
because they were
It's a
trying to
good
do it on their
service.
own. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And so anyway, it was really funny because she was wearing a dress and off she went. But anyway, when I saw the waterways, I thought of her today and I'm like, oh, she passed, and she was one of the most brilliant women in the world of theater and acting and performance. But so,
Well,
yeah, I think that with all the sites you're seeing, I just wanted to add that as one of the sites.
yeah. So, I mean, I have to tell you, it was so the canals in France are more, bucolic, as much as you hate that word. They're more pastoral
They're
because it's in
not
the country.
convivial.
It was those are convivial experience as well, but it's more, those the ones I've done in France are more in the countryside. So, but here the River Thames it's developed. You've got little towns pretty much, not far from each other. And then in between the towns, you have houses, and we're talking manor houses, beautiful estates lining the riverbank with boat houses and
Mm.
beautiful boats. So we would, in all sorts of styles. We'd have one that would look Tudorish, and then next door would be one like a boxy one that would be modern. So it was just really, I mean, it was really interesting to, but clearly
Charming.
lots of money, very charming, very, many sections extremely well to do. And so we
Mm.
kind of got to peek in the backyards of all these manor homes and kind of see how the other half lived as we Yes. Oh,
Little
yeah.
English
Oh,
pride.
and beautifully landscaped. Oh my
Oh,
gosh. Just gorgeously landscaped. Perfect. Absolutely. Bushes perfectly pruned,
man.
things blooming,
Oh
little
my God.
gazebos, little, gates and fences. Just really just charming. And each house would be different, but they would all look very English, if that kind of makes sense. But
No, it is. I mean, it is in England. It's like, it's like
yeah, well,
go
yeah,
over the border to
obviously.
Brittany, we'll get tequila, but yeah,
No,
but it is, it's England. I mean, it is just the epitome of what the English
exactly,
country garden charm is. I mean, that's real.
exactly,
And you do
right.
kind of pinch yourself. It's like, I know
Yep,
it's there. I know I've
yep,
been to England, but like it's real. Like even I
yep.
remember the first year we were in England for spring and everybody had daffodils blooming everywhere. And I'm like, my gosh. I mean, I
Oh,
just come out of the bush of Africa as a kid going, this is real. They have daffodils. They actually exist because you don't see
yeah.
daffodils
No,
where we
no,
were from the equator
Africa,
area.
right,
And so I'm like, what are they doing with and it was real. And it was like, and
right.
then going in, seeing the castles and the cathedrals, like you went to Windsor and I mean, the
Hmm.
places you went
Oh, it's
and
beautiful.
Christchurch
Yeah,
College. I mean, some of these places you went, I mean, this is true history. And when you
yes.
get it is when you go in those places, it's mind blowing, the attention to detail. I know the architecture on the outside is grand, but it's the inside that blows me away.
And Windsor in particular, so you're not allowed to take photos inside. So, obviously I didn't share any photos with you because it's still
Mhm.
it's still used by the royal family. Hampton Court is different because it's a listed property. It's kind of like a museum. But Windsor Castle is not like that. So you're not allowed to take photos inside. But it was, as you may remember, part of it burned in the early 90s. And so it's been fully restored and it's just absolutely gorgeous. So I really recommend if you have a chance to do the tour inside and see the staterooms, kind of see exactly where they meet, their guests and have their big dinners and all of that. And then on the flip side, you've got Hampton Court, which is we toured the Tudor side of Hampton Court,
Oh
which is
man.
still very well preserved from the time of King Henry VIII. And it's a totally different feel to it. Our guide from Sarah Jane from European Waterways took us through Hampton Court and basically in each kind of area tied in what we were seeing to each one of Henry's wives. So, kind of woven
I'm
the
going to have that
history.
song stuck in my head now. I'm Henry VIII. I can't help it.
No, don't go
Yeah, I'm
there.
going to give it to you now.
Yeah, very different history, from Henry VIII to the current Windsors at
Amazing.
Windsor Castle, and then Oxford. You've got Christchurch College. A lot of that was. I mean, Oxford I think was established in the 1200s, something like that.
Mm.
But again, Henry VIII actually, I was reading, established Christchurch College. And that's kind of one of the more famous colleges at the university. So that's the one that we toured. So a lot, yeah, just a lot of history in that part of England.
Little
It's not
history and
surprising because
beauty.
it's not far from London, right? So it's not surprising that
Yeah.
you would have all of this.
Yeah, I think
And
it
yeah,
would be
very
cool.
pretty, very
I
pretty.
wonder how many
Yeah.
people from London go on that as like a way to get out of the city for a little bit and go.
So they say they actually do get quite a few Brits doing the cruise just because it's relaxing and it's sort of a different way to see the sights and the scenery. Um, and then the other thing I wanted to touch upon, which made, because you were saying how English it all is, which it should be, but we actually started the cruise the boat was docked in Henley on the Thames, and apparently that area is known for its regattas. And so we were, I think, almost at every place that we were docked at in the late afternoon, evening, we'd see folks rowing on their boats for either for exercise, or clearly some of these were practicing for regattas because it would be 2 men or 4 men or women teams on the boats. Yeah, just very, very English.
I love it.
So
I
if you're
love it.
looking
And by
for a
the way,
true English experience where you don't have to do anything and everything is done for you and you treat it like royalty, because that's exactly how I felt. Felt like I was treated like royalty all week. This, being on the Magna Carta is the way to do it.
I want the cheese board with wine
Oh,
and chutney.
mm,
The chutney. I
mm,
miss chutney so bad. I
oh,
can't even tell you. I haven't had chutney since we've been to this country. Like a good,
yeah,
I keep trying to tell people
yeah.
about fruit chutneys, like how there's a spice in a I need chutney.
Mm,
I really
mhm.
want chutney
Oh, and yeah, and
with
a good
cheese. Ugh.
English cheese with a good and then Chef Thomas would make fresh bread every day, his own bread every day with that cheese. And then he would make flavored butters with like really
Oh,
cool flavors in them. I mean, I would have been happy with just that. I didn't need the rest of the dinner.
just like to float and see something new at a calm pace, sip your
Mhm.
wine, sip your champagne, because I know you had wine on that board, aboard the Magna Carta.
Well, that's one of the signature parts of the experience with European Waterways is red and a white wine at lunch, and then a different red and white wine
Wait a
at
minute.
dinner.
Wait. I'm ready. You get lunch and dinner with wine. I'm in. I'm in.
And it's different every day. So we're talking 6 days times 4. So, you can do the math on how many different types of wines you get to try.
Oh, man, I mean,
And they're global, it's not, I mean, France and Argentina and South Africa. And so,
South African wines. Ooh.
yeah, it's a few I think there were even a couple of the California ones. So it was a very global wine experience. And the chef works with, the Katie, one of, Dominic's wife, the couple that owns the boat, to pair the wines so that they go well with the meals that he's planning. So, if you're having fish or we're having lamb or we're having beef or cheese or, so they would pair them with the meals, and it was heaven, I gotta tell you. Yeah. Well, this is why I love going on these European Waterways barges. I'm not big on repeating trips, but I will go on another barge cruise with them at the drop of a hat.
I'm in. Hey, and listen, they were born on my birthday. They were born on my birth year.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they're my birth
Okay.
year, so that's a
Okay.
good sign. So
Yeah,
I need
there
to
you
go
go.
see them. I need to
You
go see
do.
them. So
You do.
europeanwaterways.com is the website, everyone, again, linked in the episode notes, as well as, Rose's article. And when you see these photos I was talking about on the show, you will drool at the food, the wine, the champagne. You will drool at the sights. I mean, even just the one garden at the Hampton Court. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like that beautiful, that, landscaped English garden with the little maze,
Yeah.
and,
It was
and
just one of them.
unless you're a fairy, really teeny fairy, it's not one of those kinds of mazes where you get lost. But
No.
it is, I mean, I love that you did have some of that, dark weather, because it gave you those rainbows. And it still, that's part of it, is like you can go inside and float and enjoy and relax. And what
Yeah.
an ultimate
Yeah.
place to be, or way to experience, I should say, for your 40th anniversary. How special. I mean,
It
really.
was. It really was. They did a great job. Really made some great memories that we will cherish for a long time.
Yeah, because you
It
got
was.
another 40 to go. So there you go. Yeah.
Well, that would be nice. I'm not sure I want to get that old though, but yeah, that would
You
be
know,
nice.
well, you want to keep going. Keep
I
going
don't.
with these
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. Definitely.
Well, thank you so much, Rose. Always fun. We can't wait for next month to find out where's next. Because you're always, I mean, I don't even know how we managed to do these podcasts, because you're always
Yeah, I
somewhere, or
know.
sometimes calling in from a boat or a ship.
So my next adventure is I leave for another cruise. I'm
Okay.
going. I know that surprises you, right? I'm actually headed to the Mediterranean, and I'm going to do
Ooh.
a cruise on a clipper ship. I'm going to
Oh.
cruise on the Star Clipper from Athens to Malta,
Oh my
and
gosh.
and stopping a couple of stops in Greece, a couple of stops in Sicily, and then exploring Malta. And then I'm tacking on 5 days in Malta on my own because I've always wanted to visit Malta.
Hmm.
So I'm going to be doing some sightseeing there.
You are
Um,
going to trip out. I mean,
um,
Malta's, yeah, you're
you've
going to
been
love it.
there? Okay. So
No,
I'm
I have
looking forward
friends who
to
have
it.
just, they
Okay.
go there all the time, because from England, it's easy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they go all the time. And every time I'm just like, what? Like, you can just go there like that easy. And yes, they can. And it
Yeah.
is, I mean, the history, the beauty, the coast. Oh my gosh. It
I'm looking
is,
forward to it.
you're going to love it. You're going to love it.
Good.
And the history, I know you like history too, is going to
Yes.
be
Yes.
phenomenal. Everyone, you got to keep up with Rose. It's hard because she goes so far, so many places, whether she's cruising, or road tripping. Follow her at Quiltripping whether you go to quiltripping.com or to her social media on Instagram and Facebook, follow her there. Thanks so much and happy travels. Stay
Thank
safe
you.
and take a sip for me.
I will do a toast to you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us for Quiltripping Travel with Rose, a Big Blend radio podcast featuring award-winning travel writer and photographer Rose Palmer. Join us for new episodes every second Thursday, and keep up with Rose at quiltripping.com and follow us at bigblendradio.com.